Hello, thanks for watching. Today I want to talk to you about EQ, and I want to take it back to basics because something that a subscriber of mine recently asked me about was, when you're new to all this, how do you know what to cut and what to boost? And it's all well and good saying, well, cut the bits that sound bad and boost the bits that sound good, but sometimes it's not so obvious what bits sound bad. And until your ears become trained and you start to recognize different frequencies and you start to get kind of a more of a grasp on the frequency spectrum, it can be really daunting and it can be really frustrating at first trying to apply EQ and trying to find, room resonances to cut, trying to find sibilance on vocals, trying to find kind of the different elements of the sound that need either cutting or exaggerating. And how most people start is using the boost and sweep technique. And I discussed this in more detail in my altitude mixing guide, which is about kind of using extreme settings when you're a beginner to figure out how stuff sounds and then dialing it back to normal settings. And that's essentially what the boost and sweep is. It's the process of boosting really kind of aggressively with an EQ, and then sweeping it across the spectrum so you can hear different frequencies. Now, this isn't always a good thing to do, and I'll talk more about that in a second, but for now, I'm just going to show you how this works. So here I've got a track. I'm going to do this on, let's say, the lead vocals. So just give you a listen first of all, so you know what we're listening out for.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. What more can I do for this? What more can I do for us? Get out.
So you get the idea. Really nice kind of acoustic, kind of soft rock, I guess, bit of country kind of elements in there. So what we're going to do is load up a new EQ on the vocals. Before I do that, let's bypass everything else. So this is as if we're working on a completely clean vocal. So let's add in a new EQ. And then the first step to using this technique is bring the bandwidth up as narrow as it'll go. And on on the Pro Tools one, it's called Q. On others, it's called width. Sometimes it's called bandwidth. But there'll be one kind of parameter that allows you to change the narrowness of the EQ boost. You can see here as I go down it's really wide, and as I go up it's really narrow. What you want to do is make it really narrow, maybe not as narrow as it will go, somewhere around 5 I normally tend to start off at. And then what we're going to do is sweep this along the frequency spectrum, and essentially what we're listening out for is any frequencies or any points where it gets louder, because what that means is there's a lot of frequencies in that area. Because we're sweeping across and we're boosting everything by the same amount, because we leave the gain on full, or maybe just high, but don't touch the gain. All you're doing is adjusting the frequency. So if while I'm doing this it gets louder at any point, that essentially means that that collection of frequencies that I'm boosting is louder than the rest, because I'm boosting it by 16, the same as everything else, yet it comes across louder. And this can mean one of two things. This can mean you've either found the fundamental, or you found overtones of the instrument where the sound is kind of strongest. Or this could mean you found room resonances, or perhaps ringing on a drum, something like this. So your task is to differentiate between what's the fundamentals and what's part of the track, and what's the nasty stuff, what's things like room resonances and ringing. Of course, if you decide that you don't like some of the overtones of the instrument, say you've got an acoustic guitar that's got a really kind of clanky sound, you'll find that as well. You'll hear that clanky sound more obviously when you get to that frequency range. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to sweep around just to find any room resonances. I know this was recorded at home. This vocal wasn't recorded in a studio. So I know for sure there's going to be some ugly room resonances, probably around 500. But what I'm going to do is boost along and have a listen. Now I'm going to do this in solo because we're doing more surgical things here. We're not exactly EQing it to taste and to add character. which is why I'm going to solo it. But normally when you're EQing something, don't do it in solo, do it with the whole mix in, especially when you're doing more kind of EQ for character and colour. And let's have a listen.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose.
Let's just get rid of the reverb.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. But what more can I? What more can I do? I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. But what more can I? What more can I do for this? What more can I do for us? Get out of the room. Get out of the room now. But I guess that we ran out of luck. My head is played.
So you can hear that as I'm sweeping across the frequency spectrum, at a certain point it just jumps out at you a lot more and becomes a lot louder and a lot stronger. Now this, you don't want to cut all of these frequencies that jump out of you, because some of them are a big element of the sound. For example, here around 1K,
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose.
and then here as well around 5K, 6K, that's the kind of sibilance area, but there's a lot of energy in the voice around here.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said.
You know, tss, tss.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said.
So I also noticed that around 5-600 there was quite a prominent room resonance. Let's have a listen to that.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. But what more can I?
And then around 300 it probably gets more energy as well. That's a common frequency. That's that kind of mud area.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. But what more can I?
Not too bad there. So now you've done that, you need to have a think about how you want this to sound. I mean, I'm always gonna pretty much, if it's recorded at home, I always try and find the room resonances, especially on vocals, not on everything, but particularly on vocals. So the first cut that I'm going to apply is still keep it narrow, because we're doing surgical cuts here. If you have a non-linear phase EQ, it's handy for this kind of part of the processing. And we're going to cut here. I'll check that in a second. And then also there was quite a lot of sibilance on this, so I'm going to apply a wider cut around 6K, just to get rid of some of that sibilance. Let's have a listen to that. I'm going to adjust the gains of these now. Start with around somewhere between -3 and -5. It is quite extreme because it's narrow and we're cutting surgically some of the unwanted parts. You can use a more kind of extreme cut.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. But what more can I? What more can I do for this? What more can I do for us? Get out of the room. Get out of the room now. But I guess that we ran out of luck. My head is played.
Now let's listen to that bypass and then bring it back in.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose you. But what more can I? What more can I do for this? What more can I do?
So it's really subtle. You can just kind of hear that room resonance coming back in a tiny bit, that kind of when I bypass it, and then also quite heavy on a sibilance, Let's have a listen again with some more extreme settings, just so you can hear clearer the difference that that's making.
I'm gonna lose my mind, just like you said. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind.
So you can get the idea there. So you're just listening out for frequencies that particularly stand out of you. And this is the first phase of EQ. I talk more about this in my ebook, which I'll link to in the description. And this is the surgical phase. After this, I would apply a compressor, and then I'd apply another EQ, more for color and character. And for that, I would use a semi-parametric EQ. I'm a big fan of the Slate Digital plugin. So for the color kind of phase, I would use something like Revival. There's a bit of that going on there. And you can use wider, more subtler boosts and cut in your color character EQ. But just to give you a better idea of how you find those horrible frequencies, hopefully that helps. So again, just to quickly recap, boost, and sweep it around. As soon as something stands out to you or gets particularly louder, you need to kind of take a mental note of that frequency range and then think, do I want to cut that? Is it room resonance? Is it a ring that I want to get rid of? Or is it a character of the sound that I actually quite like? But that's the main thing. And I wouldn't recommend using this technique all the time. Only use it when you're a beginner. I only use it to find room resonances and ringing, because it can actually deceive you. And if you're sweeping, boosting and sweeping frequencies around all the time, it will make you think that there's certain parts of the sound which are nasty, which actually they're not. The only reason they sound nasty is because you're boosting them loads. So don't rely on it too much. A lot of the time you want to just think about how you want to change the sound and then approach your EQ strategically. But for absolute beginners, this is really handy, because sometimes it's not so easy to hear the changes that you're making. It's not so easy to think strategically and think, well, I want to make it warmer, I want to cut it out a bit of 1K, because you won't have an awareness of those different frequency ranges. So it's really good for beginners too. So go check out that ebook. It's completely free. There's a link to that in the description. And also this song was by Daniel Greenwood. I'll leave a link to that too. So thanks for watching. Until next time.